I've been buying rings like I'm Kobe.
I be in and out of arenas like I'm Scottie Pippen.
Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym?
James Harden with the range, junkie nigga way back.
Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot. Get it.
Niggas underrate me like Jalen Brunson, but yo, I'm leaving with something.
Been flowing stupid since Vince Carter was on some through the legs arm and a hoop shit. Fresh Prince jacket, boy, I cook them till they inside out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you do.
Yes, sir. We are back. Round of applause for yourselves. This is your guy, Marcellus Ease, and we got some interesting stuff on the docket for today. As usual, the NBA is always turned up. Storylines is insane, and we're going to get to it. Jeanie Buss is shaking shit up behind the scenes in LA. We're going to get into some of the nuances that's going on. She's trying to innovate at a time where there's new ownership, and the Lakers are starting to position themselves very differently than they did in the past decade. We've seen the Golden State Warriors and the way they came up. The Clippers build a different kind of infrastructure around the team that has increased their evaluation a lot different. So Jeanie Buss right now is getting rid of a lot of the clutter of family members that were just in certain positions, as the Lakers will begin to elevate and remind the rest of the league of why they are the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. And we'll hit up the Illuminati god himself, Kyrie Irving, as in one of his deleted live streams, he kept it honest. He kept it a buck about his situations in Cleveland and why an eventual fallout was always bound to happen. And speaking of fallouts, another podcast beef is happening with two different players, this time Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin, but it's also a clash of two different fan bases and their ideologies when it comes to the NBA game. There's an audience that loves the individual performance, and there's also another audience that respects team results and winning, aka winning championships and making deep playoff runs. These same ideologies also cross over with the players, as just like in the Trae Young and Pat Bev beef, Kenyon Martin brings up his individual accolades, while Draymond Green talks on a level that Kenyon Martin may not be familiar with. And finally, we're going to touch base on some of the nuances that's happening with the league as they're transitioning from the old CBA to the new. There's a few teams this season that are having a couple of clashes with their superstars, but unfortunately in this new NBA landscape, there's going to be a caliber of stars making over a certain threshold of money that's going to kind of make them ineligible to be traded, because there's not going to be enough teams that's going to be interested. The price point is way too high. And it's one of the many bubbles that's being caused by this brand new CBA. Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, Trae Young, and many others this season are kind of in a limbo themselves and also their franchises. So we'll hear from a few current day players, as well as Andre Iguodala, the director of the Players Union. And I tell you what, their frustrations with this dynamic is only the beginning. So right here, we're going to get great insight into what's going on behind the scenes with Jeanie Buss and the Lakers ever since they sold this team. And we can't forget, just looking back at their father, that he is an innovator when it comes to the entertainment side of the NBA. All the celebrities being in the front row is because of him. That Showtime element of the NBA is really because of Dr. Buss. And it's been kind of sad to see in the last decade or so that his children not be in a position in order to innovate. Right now, we're seeing a new class of billionaire owners come in, and it takes a lot more from the financial side to build the infrastructure around these teams. And the Golden State Warriors, it may seem like this overnight, but they have completely leapfrogged the Lakers in net worth and as far as relevancy in the state of California. You got Steve Ballmer literally down the block from the Lakers arena with the Intuit Dome. Just the amount of money spent, all the innovation. In recent times, it looks like the Lakers are a step too slow on the innovation part. The NBA dealing with the pandemic was a bigger deal than what people really thought. The league had borrowed $800 million just to divvy out to certain teams to maintain expenses, as even the following season, a lot of owners lost ticket revenue because majority of that year, fans were not allowed to be in the stands. This is where the new Laker ownership comes in, as they purchased in June of 2021 about 27% of Lakers stock. So you already know the family was in need of cash. And current day, as expenses keep getting higher and higher, that very same ownership group was eventually going to buy them out because they were creeping up inch by inch, helping them out by purchasing even more equity into the Lakers. So there has been a lot of infighting within the family. It started way back in 2020. Even as the Lakers had success in the bubble and winning the finals, there was a lot of turmoil that Jeanie Buss was going through with her siblings. And that business of having LeBron James in LA, that candle died a lot faster than what was initially intended. But you guys check out these two NBA insiders provide great insight into what's going on behind the scenes. And every once in a while, I'll check in.
Can I say something about Jeanie?
Yeah.
She's very, very well liked in the NBA, right? And she's liked in Los Angeles. Maybe not everybody, and maybe people will have, they can look at certain decisions.
Sure.
But she's her Q rating, her respect level. People in the league really like her. She has a very pleasant way about her.
And a lot of the media members in the NBA do like her because they are not harsh to criticize what's been going on with some of the decision making, aka the Russell Westbrook trade, and letting certain guys walk away from the team and not giving them extensions early. This is all during the LeBron James era. But Dr. Buss did trust Jeanie to handle a lot more of the business side of the Lakers more than the other siblings. And Jeanie has been real selective of some of the business handlers that she has around her. Kirk and Linda Rambis, and also David McClain. That's her business manager. He sort of protects her personal money from any major losses coming from the Lakers.
Talk to other owners or people around the league that have nothing to do with Los Angeles. They like dealing with her.
But let me say this about Jeanie Buss. Her last name is Buss.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but she has five brothers and sisters, and she's now fired 3 of them.
That's right. Jim got fired, and then Joey and Jesse. Yeah.
Right, and she sued 2 of them.
Yeah. Well, they deserved. I mean, I shouldn't.
Oh no! Hey, listen, I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying
it was a palace coup. So yeah, okay.
No, hey, I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not taking a side. I am just saying that this woman is not afraid to handle what she thinks is business, even if it means firing her brothers and he's never fired her sister, to my knowledge, firing her brothers and suing
Jeanie
her
and
brothers.
Janie aren't very good terms. Janie still does work with the Laker Foundation. Yeah.
Jeanie is a lot more casual, but she will brawl too, and that's what I'm just saying is she's fired 3 of her brothers.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit though to the Joey and Jesse situation. I think a lot of this is, if you're close to the situation, it was not surprising at all that this happened. Okay, I think there has been a distance between the younger brothers and Jeanie for quite some time. I think in one of his interviews, Jesse even said, I haven't spoken to my sister in 5 months.
Damn, that's rough. For a man to build his business and the same thing that provided his family a life is going to be the very same thing that tears them apart, even when you're gone. It's a tough thing to deal with, but unfortunately, a lot of families are going to go through that.
Crazy. That was jaw dropping.
Yeah,
it was
like
The Athletic.
This is from what I, that relationship, those 2 relationships, and I would say it's maybe more so Jesse than Joey. Joey, I think, is still, around the offices more and a little more involved. But because they were both fired, we grouped them together. But, I don't think that's been a good relationship for at least the last 2 years. And I don't know if there was any specific thing that degraded that relationship, because if you remember when she fired Jim, and that was part of the larger case where Johnny and Jim had sort of teamed up to try to force Jeanie out as the head of the there was 3 of them, and they started. It was 2 boys and 1 girl. Even though she was the head of the board of directors, they had sort of
they
come
were
up
the
with some legal
trustees, right? They were
maneuver.
the trustees, and they tried to say, "Hey, we're the trustees, and we're going to outvote you 2-1."
Yeah.
And she's like, "The hell you are."
Yeah. Well, and then they,
Yeah.
there was a legal maneuver. Okay, and so it didn't work. She had a better lawyer than they did, and his name was Adam Streisand. He's one of the best trusted attorneys. If you find anybody who's had some estate
The quotes
stuff,
that he gave you, there's a story that you wrote all about this.
Remember, all this happened when the Lakers won the championship in the bubble. This was actually ongoing as they were going to win the championship that October.
8 years ago, he gave you some amazing on the record quotes.
He's a well-known. If you Google Adam Streisand, I think he's worked with Britney Spears. He's done every major trust case in LA. Like Adam, you want him on your team. Okay, so Jeanie had a better lawyer, and she won that one. But the younger brother stood with her on that. At that time,
right.
It was 4-2 the other way. It
That's
was
right.
Jeanie, Janie, Joey, and Jesse, and then Jim and
That's
Johnny
right.
were on one side. And now we've kind of gone to
And
the
then
other
she
side.
swung around and
It
joined with
swung
the
around.
older.
And,
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm
know.
not saying. I'm saying this.
Yeah.
I don't know about admiration. I'm just saying, like, this went down. Like, she may have a pleasant way about her, and sort of a pleasant voice, but there was a reason why. And in that
Jerry
trust
Buss
document,
chose her to be the governor.
that's right. He looked at all 6 of his kids and he said, Jeanie, and multiple times in that document it said Jeanie is going to run the business. And whatever you want to say about Dr. Buss, he was a businessman too. Yeah, he was a player.
Yes, he was a businessman, but I don't think he could foresee how the infrastructure of the NBA has changed. Now these new crop of owners coming in, they're going to be dealing with the TV deal possibly not being as lucrative as it once was, as it is today. So they have to innovate. So they're pivoting towards owning the arena themselves, the land, almost making the ecosystem around the arena a resort. They want the hotels, the casinos, for all the gambling that we see today. They want all that in-house in one location, one ecosystem. I mean, you can even look at Golden State right now. They have an infrastructure where they even have commercial real estate. So owning the environment around the arena has become as important as owning the team itself. That's what the Adelsons came in Dallas to do with the Mavericks, with the new arena, and they want a casino set up. Look at Steve Ballmer. He owns the land in downtown LA over there by USC. That's almost as important as him owning Intuit Dome. He owns the land that it sits on also. So this is a new class of billionaires that are coming into the league. They're using the teams also as a vehicle to get into real estate. The Buss family mom and pop Laker days was already going to come to an end, whether they be down with it or not.
Boy, he messed around, but when it mattered, he kicked Shaq to the curb. Okay?
He did. You're right. He did.
And his daughter,
he traded Shaq,
has
not
his
Kobe.
genes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and I'll say this, and this is the last we'll say about this part, but there is a famous Kobe Bryant quote about this. Kobe and Jeanie had talked before she made the decision to fire Mitch Kupchak and Jim Buss, and then installed Kobe's former agent, Rob Pelinka. Okay, and they had a conversation, and Kobe, this was the height of Game of Thrones popularity, right? And Kobe said, you need to be like Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, like. You're the mother of dragons right now, and if you watch that show, you know what Daenerys Targaryen does. Like, she gets on that dragon, and the dragon breathes fire and just wipes everybody out. Like, you cannot be afraid to go do that. Like, and at the beginning of that show, you have to be able to swing your sword. Like, if you're gonna off somebody, you swing your sword. By the end of it, you got the woman on the dragon taking everyone out. So, your point is well taken.
And Jeanie firing a lot of her siblings, it had to get done either or. Right now, with this new ownership, the Lakers are beginning to restructure everything so they can put themselves in a position to innovate. The way the NBA is set up right now, there's no way for them to catch up to the Golden State Warriors as far as, and just the way they can make money. So in the next couple of years, the new ownership are going to have to put people in that's going to be willing to look for new ways to innovate and get the franchise not only to a great financial level, but also innovate with the roster. They got family members even scouting players. So that whole mom and pop Laker way that worked in the past with the Buss family, they're going to have to start hiring experts. So don't be shocked if eventually Rob Pelinka is going to be on his way out.
Answer the question of Mark Walter has put Jeanie Buss has left her in her position, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
got asked 7 different ways, whose decision was it to fire the brothers? And I will tell you, the answer is it was Jeannie's decision in consultation with everyone else around. Like, she's not going to do that without talking to Mark Walter. Okay, he's going to know. But
only a bus can fire a bus. They still are owners of the team, and
Yeah.
if they just wanted to leave them on,
Yeah.
he obviously had, to use his words to The Athletic, he'd been siloed, and they could have just left him siloed for another decade.
they could have. Yeah.
But only like people were saying to me, "Is this Rob Pelinka?" I go,
No.
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 Only a bus can fire a
No.
bus.
And also, it's
Even
also
now.
the beginning of what we're going to see is a pretty big makeover with the Lakers that's already starting. As we, I had a story last week saying,
Yes.
Farhan Zaidi, who was the GM of the Giants a little while ago, he's a special advisor. It's one of those titles that, if you're special advisor to the owner, that just means he likes you and thinks you're really smart and gives you a bunch of projects, right? So Farhan Zaidi's new project is with the Lakers and the Sparks and all the other sports teams that Mark Walter owns. And Andrew Friedman consults as well. So if you're a Dodger fan, Andrew Friedman's name pretty well. And also,
understand
let's
that.
say
Thank
this.
you.
Neither Andrew Friedman or Farhan Zaidi is trying to run the Lakers. They're not trying to take Rob Pelinka's job. They're happy with the Dodgers. This is more like a big corporate entity, which is called TWG Sports. It's kind of the same way you would see Dave Schaller, our friend in Philadelphia, who with the Sixers, he helps out with the Commanders because Josh Harris owns both of them.
Look, let me just say this. The Lakers are in need of modernization, and modernization is happening.
And the Lakers definitely do need an update, because the way the Golden State Warriors, a franchise that was almost considered on the same level as the Kings right now, just that same sort of reputation, all of a sudden leapfrogged the Lakers in the last 10 years as far as net worth, business, innovation, everything. So in the next few years, we're going to see the Lakers innovate and take that large brand, because that's all it's pretty much right now. It's just a logo. They're going to now build an infrastructure around it because the capital resources are there. Long gone is the mom and pop approach. All right, so Illuminati Kai, aka Kyrie Irving, got on his live streams, and boy, them shits be secretive as hell, but he gave out a lot of gems on why he left Cleveland and kind of revealed a lot of truths. And let's not forget, the breakup with LeBron James kind of initiated the media to kind of put a code red on Kyrie Irving as they were going at him. And that was considered treason by a lot of media members because it ruined LeBron's odds of winning the finals. And upon Kyrie's quick trade request, everybody was shocked. But before we hear from Kyrie, let's take a listen to Max Kellerman, as he once admitted that the whole industry behind the scenes know exactly why Kyrie and LeBron did not work out.
That Kyrie can't say what he really wants to say. And he comes off lesser than he would like as a result. This is what I think Kyrie can't say. He can't say what happened between them personally, and obviously something happened personally. And it's widely known in the industry. It's not like this is a big secret, nothing that you can responsibly repeat.
Interesting. Nothing you could responsibly repeat. It sounds like they got into an argument over a girl, or maybe Kyrie just got upset that LeBron was low-key trying to trade him. But you guys check out what Kyrie had to say, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I have started my career with, I love Cleveland, don't get me wrong. I'm appreciative of all the things that they've done for me, but at the same time, I would have loved to choose the franchise I wanted to go to. You know what I'm saying? I would have loved to develop next to some of my favorite players and some of my favorite people. Because being a young player, when you're on a team that's not winning a lot of games, there's a lot of bad habits that form. And that's what ended up happening to me when I was very young. I had a lot of bad habits. I was not a winner. I was not a loser, at all. Like, I take my accountability. I had a lot of bad habits as a young player. And that came from losing games and just trying to get buckets all the time, right? I know it may have been beautiful for everybody to watch and getting all the highlights and getting all the accolades, but all I really wanted to do was win. I've won a high school championship. You know what I mean? My goal was to win a college championship, and I've won an NBA championship. For me, I've grown up in this industry or grown up in this culture as a winner. I've won a lot of games. I've lost a lot of games. You know what I mean? I've been to the finals. I've won in the finals. I've lost in the finals multiple times. So for me, I'm happy with being able to get a chance to play with good teams. But when you guys make it about one player, it is kind of just weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just one player that you have to promote. Like, we had like solid players on our team.
Facts. That Cleveland Cavaliers team was really good. It should have competed with Golden State head to head, even with KD being there. They were still a really good team. And even after LeBron James left the Cavs, they were still one of the most expensive luxury tax teams in the NBA for the next 2 to 3 seasons. Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, even guys that we forgot about. They just had so much talent coming in and out the door. The only real issue was the Cavs not utilizing those players in that LeBron James system.
You know, every time you play with LeBron, it's going to be a lot of media attention. It's going to be a lot of back and forth of narratives. It's going to be about a lot of spun narratives. It's going to be a lot of politics. It's going to be a lot of shit that
AKA Clutch Sports. Let's not get that fucked up.
A lot of people don't see in front of the camera. And for me, I was just a young person trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's not that I disliked playing with Bron at any time. It was just literally, it was my time to move on. And that's what people got to accept. They want a deeper, detailed dive in terms of what happened. It's like, it was my time to move on. I don't care if I remember it as that person. Like, that was my decision. I wouldn't change it for work. That's fine. I don't care. You guys can have your own opinions. It's my life. It's my career. No one could ever live in the shoes. No one could ever have anything that's like legitimate to say or what they would have done in my position. Because you have no idea what you would have done. Good shot, Cole. You have no idea what you would have been done if you were in my position. You don't know what the fuck happened. So many media people that were commenting on shit too. You have no idea what's happening. And here you are just adding details to something that has nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was trying to guess. Everybody was trying to figure out what's going on. What's going on? Why? When I'm done playing, you guys will hear the real story. Trust me, you guys will hear the real story. When I'm done playing, or in the next few years.
Hey, Kyrie doubling down. When he retires, we'll hear the real story. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. A prime example is Russell Westbrook. My man almost had his whole reputation dragged through the mud after playing with LeBron James in LA. But we'll see. Now with the Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin back and forth, it's really a continuation of the same key points that were brought up in the back and forth between Trae Young and Pat Bev. The two different NBA audiences, the ones that appreciate the individual scoring versus the other side of the coin where there's an audience that appreciates winning. And with winning, the NBA is always going to be a team game. That's where Patrick Beverley in the argument with Trae Young was bringing up a lot of his points. And then in this scenario, Draymond Green, Kenyon Martin quickly goes to individual skill sets and individual accolades to justify his place in some sort of imaginary hierarchy. But again, these podcast beefs are always interesting because you just see the two different sides of just the way players think and also how the fan bases think. But check out how this beef initially started. As going into the previous summer, Kenyon Martin and Nick Young both kind of slighted Draymond Green and some of the impact that he's had in the league.
But that man body of work is what it is. It's cool. Individual. A lot of people were left out. His individual body work stands for itself. That's why I picked him. So that's cool. Let's not act like Draymond was fucking LaMarcus Aldridge.
He was doing what?
Let's not act like Draymond Green is LaMarcus Aldridge.
At all.
He's a champ.
At all.
That's the only thing he has on him. That's the only thing he has. That's the only thing he has on him.
It's not even close.
That's the only thing he has on him.
It's not even close.
That's the only thing that Draymond has on him.
Everything.
That's the only thing.
Everything.
We're talking about basketball here. We're talking about basketball.
Everything.
We're talking about basketball.
Okay, LaMarcus can score. What else he can do?
Nigga, there's not.
What else can he do?
I can list 200 people that's better at basketball than Draymond Green right now.
Name me 200.
For one reason or another, I don't put him in the category with the guys that I named. That's all. And I've watched Draymond's career from the time he came in to now. And I think a lot of the things and the people who he has done things to has been calculated. It's just, I don't think, it's not spur of the moment things. It ain't reactionary things. It's people, and I said it's just people who he hasn't hit someone or did something to someone and someone's instant reaction is the next step, right?
Now it's also interesting how Nick Young reacted when the LaMarcus Aldridge and Draymond Green comparison came about. He was like, oh, he's nowhere near. And pay attention to how Draymond Green kind of slights him right here in his response. There's going to be 2 strays. There's one for Kenyon, and I think for Nick Young, if he doesn't lay off that yak, he might have missed out on the stray that was coming his way.
A lot of shots coming out of Gil's Arenas podcast, in particular, Kenyon Martin. And it's a little disappointing. It's a little disappointing because for those of you that don't know, Kenyon Martin was born in Saginaw, Michigan. Kenyon Martin, dad, Paul Roby, played at my high school. And so growing up in a city like Saginaw, Michigan, you're always looking for hope when you grow up in a city like that. So another person that was born in Saginaw, Michigan was Serena Williams. And although these two people that I just mentioned didn't quite grow up in Saginaw, spent some of their younger lives in Saginaw, but didn't quite grow up in Saginaw. A city with so much pride, like a small city like Saginaw, still root for those people relentlessly. So I spent my childhood rooting for Serena Williams relentlessly because you feel that connection. So for Kenyon Martin to go on to be the number 1 pick, have the success that he had at Cincinnati, go on, and like I said, and having a pretty good NBA career, as a Saginaw native, you relentlessly cheer for those people. So the constant shots has been a little confusing to me because I don't quite know where they came from. And you think, someone that was a number 1 pick that didn't quite have the career that I've had, but played similar roles in a sense, would appreciate it, would show more love, especially when you go back to a kid born and raised in Saginaw. You think it'll be a little more love. So it's a little disappointing to see the constant shots. I just always thought it'll be a little more love than that. But when you were the number 1 pick and effectively, underachieved, I guess that would be the reason why. To be the number 1 pick and make the All-Star game 1 time, most would say it's probably an underachievement. Be that I was the 35th pick and made the All-Star game 4 times. Defensive player of the year, Kenyon Martin was a defender, I think. He would consider himself a good defender. Never quite reached the pinnacle of that when you talk defensive player of the years, or 9 all defensive teams that I had, that I have, and he has 0. It's tough to sit in a space of like continuing to speak on my name and call my name out as if I underachieved or am underachieving when I was just simply the 35th pick in the NBA draft and somebody took a swing on in the 2nd round and it just happened to work out, to become one of the greatest players in the franchise history. It just happened to work out. You'd think there'd be more love from a guy who plays similar roles but underachieved a bit. Like, you think he'd be like, man, but look at the heights that this guy took it to. And so that the guys cut from a mold like us, that now it's a path created that they can take it to even higher heights. That's the love that I thought would be there, but it's just been a little weird and like constant shots, and due to my respect and my love because of the connection that I once shared, or still share, from being, born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan, I've held off on responding multiple times. Number 1, because I just know when I respond to shit, it takes on a whole nother world and guys get more publicity than they necessarily get when I don't respond. So I've been kind of taking the path of like, I ain't going to say nothing because I don't want to give people more publicity. But more importantly than the publicity, I try to stay in a space of respect. You know what I'm saying? I try not to be moved by someone just saying a thing or two, because at the end of the day, I still have my beliefs, and my beliefs are, man, I've rooted for this guy for a very long time, so I'm not a wishy-washy guy. Just because somebody say something, I'm not just gonna jump out there and be like, oh man, like, I gotta respond or forget all of that. Like, nah, I stand on what I believe in, and what I've believed in is like, no, I supported that guy, so I'm not just gonna jump off the rails and attack him or be responding and getting in these back and forths because of the respect and love that I had growing up as a kid. But man, the shots just keep coming. And it's like, dang, why? And again, I just don't know how you can continue to shoot at me and you underachieve. Like, one All-Star? Make no mistake about it. You are an All-Star. I'll give you that. A lot of people can't say they're an All-Star, so I'll give you that. You're a one-time All-Star. That's beautiful. But you must admit, like, to be the player that you were and defender that you believed you were and to not have, like, a single all-defensive second team, it's kind of an underachievement. You know, number one pick in the draft. A lot of people look for that guy to win Rookie of the Year. Didn't. All rookie team, though. First team all rookie. You know, that's an accolade that I can't say I have. I ain't really played much as a rookie as the 35th pick. So I can't say I made any all rookie team. So kudos. I tip my hat to that. You know, it started off promising. But I just, like I said, man, the shots, they're just a little baffling to me. Because all the criticism, like, if I stopped playing basketball today, my career was better, way more impactful. You know, I think Kenyon Martin lost in a couple NBA finals. He got to sniff it. Didn't quite get a taste, but got a little sniff of it.
Damn, this league is petty as a motherfucker. My man Draymond Green sniffing that shit. Yo, Dre is so petty. Oh my God.
Yeah, so you just your resume got to be a little better to just keep taking shots. It's not that people, like, your resume don't match up, people can't say, but these have been shots being taken. And it's just a little disappointing because, like I said, that's a guy who I cheer for relentlessly. You know, him in 2000 playing for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to see that championship through either. My big brother, Martin Cleves, went and took that championship. You know, so yeah, man, it's just a little disappointing that it's kind of come down to this. I also, you know, I see clips every now and then come from the show. And in particular, I see Kenyon Martin try to attack Nick Young about his NBA championship. But one thing I want to share with Kenyon Martin and Rashad McCants, you know, a couple guys who tries to attack Nick Young about his NBA championship is this. I know you guys don't understand what it means to win an NBA championship. And because of that, you guys attack Nick Young because y'all don't know what it takes. So I'm going to share with you all, non-champions, what it takes to win an NBA championship. So in an NBA championship, you have your guys who has to deliver on a roster. And for us, at times, that was me, Steph, and Clay, Andre Iguodala. But he coming off the bench, so there's still some grace. But me, Steph, and Clay, we had to deliver. You had to.
And a prime example of that was at 2022 NBA Finals. The way Draymond Green had that defense humming with Wiggins and I would say a more lesser version of Clay and even Gary Payton, he had that defense just in the right zone. Only Draymond really has that effect. Just the right positioning, everyone switching properly, recovering, getting in the gaps. And even current day with Klay Thompson leaving the team, we're seeing the real importance of Draymond Green, how what he does for the Golden State Warriors is a lot harder to replace than even Klay Thompson.
And then you have all your guys who like play a role, and what role players do in NBA playoffs en route to NBA championships are, what they do is, what I like to call them is swing players. As opposed to role players, I like to call them swing players. What do I mean by swing players? Your job as a role player throughout an NBA championship run it's easier said than done, but the concept is simple. Your job is to swing one series. And what I mean by that is you be the piece in one series that swings the series. Because we know what Steph going to do. We know what Klay going to do. We know what Draymond going to do. We know what they're going to bring to the floor. We need one player that we're not necessarily expecting to do X to swing the series. And so when you go look at our championship run that Nick Young was a part of, Nick Young was the swing player in the Houston series. Game 6 and 7, Nick Young was one of the primary defenders on James Harden. Nick Young hit big threes. He swung the series for us. Guess what? Job done. When you talk about winning a championship, he swung the series. That's his job as a role player, to swing one series. He did that. So when you guys try to say his championship don't matter, he just got a ring. No, he didn't. What he did was swing a series, but because you guys never won a championship, you don't quite understand that concept. So as a 4-time champion, I'm here to share with you guys that effectively underachieved of what it means for a role player to help contribute to an NBA championship. So I hope to not see more clips of you guys trying to shit on Swaggy and say his ring meant nothing and he did nothing for it. What he did was what you need a role player to do. What the New Jersey Nets needed Kenyon Martin to do. They needed you to swing the series.
No way he just called him a role player. Yo, Draymond is insane. They needed you to swing. Yo, Draymond is crazy. Yo, Kenyon Martin is gonna go ape shit, but I don't know if there's any extra strays coming Nick Young's way by just calling him a swing player, but hey.
But you couldn't swing the series, so y'all lost. Y'all got smacked. Nick Young swung the series. So as opposed to shitting on Nick Young, the NBA champion that you kind of can't do, understand a little bit of what he did, and maybe you can help the next generation swing a series. But yeah, hopefully there'll be more love, man, because it's a lot of shots being thrown, and quite frankly, they're giving a little salty. I don't understand why. It's a little unfortunate, but I'm just here to help, man. You need help understanding what it is to be a winner, how to be a winner. I'm just here to help, fellas. Shout out to y'all, though. Gills Arena.
Oh, my God. Telling a player that's a first overall pick he can help the next generation to swing a series is crazy. But this is where... This is where these guys are at, man. I'm not going to lie. The NBA is too petty. I can't even say this with a straight face, but Kenyon Martin had responded to Draymond Green telling him that he could swing a series, which is fucking crazy. This is nuts, but he responded to him. You guys check it out.
He comparing me and you, right?
Ain't no comparing.
No, they said I was supposed to do what you did, swing a series, right?
Yo, Kenyon Martin, you can hear the confusion in his voice. Telling a first overall pick to teach the next generation to swing a series is wild.
So when the leading scorer is supposed to swing the series? I'm asking. Is that what he mean?
Based on his criteria, I don't think you'd fit the criteria of a swing player.
Yeah, so what the fuck is this clown talking about here, man? Like, who's swinging what series? I'm the leading scorer on the fucking team.
Draymond has completely trolled the fuck out of Kenyon Martin right here, man. I'm not gonna lie. Kenyon Martin right now looking like an angry ass uncle.
In the playoffs and the regular season, who swinging who what? What? J. Kidd had a bigger name, yes. J. Kidd was first team All-NBA, yes. He was, yes.
Yeah.
I led the team in scoring and fucking rebounding. Who's swinging what? I don't fit that fucking criteria.
Nobody.
I'm sorry.
Nobody want to be a swinger.
Like, I don't swing series. I help win series. I help put foot to ass in series. I'm the main reason we swept niggas in series. I was a part of that. So me being a swing player in the series, no. Closeout games in the series. Knicks swept them in their house, 35 on their floor, 35-13 on their floor. Who's swinging what?
You led the team in scoring?
Yes.
It's facts,
Well, how
Nick.
much you average?
It's facts, Nick.
How much?
Can I ask you
what does it matter? It could have been 10, Nick. 10 points, Nick.
I don't think it was that.
I led us to scoring with 10 points, Nick.
I'm just saying.
10 points.
We throwing this around.
It's facts.
You saying it to me like...
I'm saying it to the world because it's facts. You can go look it up.
You saying it to me like...
The world. You can go look it up.
I just want to know how much.
You can go look it up. 10 points. 10 points.
More than likely, it was probably under 20. Remember, back in those days, the final scores of some of these games were like 75-69. And that's also considered one of the worst eras of the NBA. It was never like that even before then. I would say in the 80s. If you look at the efficiency and the pace and the level of scoring, it's basically an identical style to the way we see games being played today.
In the finals when we lost to the Lakers, I averaged 22, led the team in scoring.
I'm talking about overall.
In the playoffs overall. Yes,
The whole
Nick.
season, you led the team in scoring?
Yes, Nick.
And what was that, 20 or something?
No, 10. 10 points. Average 10 points. More than 8. What your man averaged. He averaged 8 for his career.
Yeah, but the impact is overall different. The impact is different. The game is more than just scoring. If that was the case, then most of your best scorers would have been champions already. And not every 20 points per game or even 30 points per game is the same. Let's not get that fucked up. A LeBron James 25, 8 and 8 in 2012 is way different than a LeBron James 25 points per game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in, I would say, the last 4 seasons. In 2023, 2024, 2025, it's just a whole different ball game, and the impact is not the same at all.
So I averaged 10.
I did too.
Yeah.
For my short period of time.
So you got to it. And this
15
is
to 25 minutes, I looked at the stats.
This is a horrible father move that I'm finna make, right? But I didn't have this kind of information before when I first did it. Like, we talking about individual, like what you do on the... Never mind.
Don't do it.
Never mind.
Don't do it.
Never mind.
Can't we all just get along?
Never mind. Nick, I didn't want... So this was never about you. You know what I'm saying?
About you, bitch.
Like, so I don't want people to misconstrue that
you
this shit is about...
it, nigga. You came in here not trying your motherfucking...
So I don't want this to make this about you because you don't know. You're naive in this shit, right? You're like, so I don't want to make it about you, so...
Oh, y'all got personal beef?
No, he made it personal. I didn't. The man called me an underachiever, dog. You want to bring certain numbers and stats into this shit, talking about all this. I didn't. So you are collateral damage right now. My bad.
Non-champion.
My bad. So I'm a non-champion over here. But listen, I'm a non-champion over here. Yes, but guess what? Guess what, Nick? I get the same motherfucking love and respect when I walk down the motherfucking street as if I got 5, 4, 5, 6 of them bitches. Because guess what?
It's the difference between...
Because guess what?
Having them...
I stand on what the motherfucking I did, dog. I walk down the street proud.
But you act like this man or anybody else don't stand on what they did.
Cool, they can. I'm talking about me and him.
That's what I'm saying.
Me and him. Individual, not like, yes. Like, people want to keep talking about what? Cool.
Yeah, I get it.
Give him his flowers, please do.
And clear up the fact that I had your... See,
you did.
You gonna fuck around and find out.
What?
No, you didn't. It was the day when I said Draymond was top 20 and y'all was naming everybody.
Don't say y'all.
Yeah.
You said Elton Brand.
See, when they do these type of lists, these top 20 lists, like, they're probably just judging it off of individual skill. But as far as impact, it doesn't really get talked about too much, but that has to be considered when these lists are made. All these things at the end of the day, they're all subjective. You really can't even compare fucking errors.
I have always been on your side when you was representing the corner boy.
Nick.
Nick?
He knew who the fuck he was talking to. Elton Brand better.
He did not mention a name who may or may not have
20 people better at the power forward position better than Draymond.
Yes, it is. I named him. And some.
Somebody can average 14
and some
9 and 9. Let me know.
Who?
15, 9 and 9 like Draymond.
When?
All-Star is
when?
First year he made All-Star. Almost
that's one.
The only one I question is probably the Dennis Rodman. That's about it.
When?
That's always been my question. Dennis Rodman.
Here's the issue. They never talk about the impact on the team and the results. Were you able to impact the game in a way where your team won and dominated during your era? If you're just making up these subjective top 10 and top 100 guards, of course, subconsciously, it's going to get looked at based off of skill only. But winning championships in the NBA, it always involves a team game. And this was really the gap in the Pat Bev and Trae Young beef. Not only a gap between the two players, but also a gap with the audiences.
That's the only one I question. Other than that, I ain't.
Name a power forward. Y'all talking about buckets. Name a power forward.
You know why? You know why power forward?
Uh-oh, Nick Young is off that yak. Put down the bottle. He's speaking the truth right here.
Don't average 8 assists?
I forgot about it.
Because they don't pass the ball.
Because they throwing the ball to score.
They throwing it in the rim.
Nick.
They throwing it. They're not throwing it to 30. They're not throwing the ball to number 30. They're throwing it in the rim.
Nick. Nick. You heard what I, so you didn't watch? Did you watch what I? Nick, did you watch what I said?
The average.
When they threw it to me, listen, Nick. When they threw me the ball, I was supposed to put it in the basket, dog. When they called turn 4, guess what? Hey, when they call turn 4, drop 4, when we call forwards out, reverse forwards out, slash, and all these other plays that we had to run, guess where the ball was going, Nick? And guess what I was told to do with it?
Draymond.
Shoot it.
But we don't use these basketball for everybody else that we talk about. When it comes to comparing people, we don't do that for no LeBron to Jordan, no Kobe to Jordan. But when Draymond, it's about offense. Because you try to take away everything he won, his defensive players, his all-stars, his championship, his all-defensive team.
Skill set,
but
not
you want to talk about something, you know that everybody know he don't fucking score.
I said he made the Hall of Fame no matter what on that
You point
side.
out that one thing, but you try to discredit everything he does. Yes, it is. You name it. Come on, man, let's stop.
No, that's what I said. What is
the fact that this man got more 0-point games in his career than he do 20-point games?
But he also got games where he had 12 steals, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, and fucking 0 points. So that's different. Nobody else in y'all ever did that. Who did that?
I said y'all are having
Nobody does that. Who done that?
You're arguing a different conversation than he's arguing.
Me and him play one-on-one? Is it what? So that's the matchup, right?
Talking about.
No. So that's the matchup, right? Me and him play one-on-one.
Oh, you.
See, here we go. It goes right back to an individual thing. When you do these rankings and these lists, you also have to consider the team impact. Nobody does these things. If that was the case, then the Bradley Beal archetypes would be ranked high in many of these lists.
When we talk about
himself,
talent, just like how y'all talk shit about Patrick Beverly, what do you say? Okay. We all do it. We all do the same thing when we're saying who can play whose ball. We never mention defense. We don't think about.
See, once again, Gilbert is exposing subconsciously what is the thought process. It's a one-on-one thing. So you're judging it off of just skill set. But those 4 championship rings that Draymond is wearing, it would never come from that criteria. That's what Patrick Bev was talking about when he says, I don't know how it feels to tell my kids I'm coming home every April. I'm playing basketball into May, hopefully getting into June. Trae Young never addressed that point. Living up to the expectations of consistently being deep in the trenches to get to a championship.
About those dudes. We only think about the niggas who can score baskets. You have to argue for the defense if you're arguing for the defense. Other than that, we don't, when we're talking about anything, we don't not name Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman. We don't name Ben Wallace's. We ain't.
Man, all 3 of those guys are champions. Why are you not naming them? Yo, Gil, what are you really saying? 3 players that are all Hall of Fame. What are you really saying, Gil?
Ain't talking about no motherfucking Bruce Bowens. They don't even exist.
Damn, even Bruce Bowen, another champion.
In our world, if we're scoring.
So championships don't exist in your world. That's what you're really saying, Gil.
That's the problem. I was gonna say y'all having 2 different conversations.
No.
That's why I said even if you take away team shit, he's still a Hall of Famer because his defense awards, just like Michael Cooper. The niggas were so dominant defensively, they're gonna make the Hall of Fame.
I want to take nothing from him.
And he don't need to have no championships.
earned
The defense is just that good in his resume. You add the 4, he's first ballot. Nobody's taking that from him.
Please don't take nothing. Give it to he earned it. Yes.
We talking about.
Yeah, give it to him. I ain't taking nothing. Give him his shit. Absolutely.
But you can't discredit
I just want to know where it all started.
You're not gonna call me underachieved. That's what you ain't gonna do. So I don't give a fuck what.
Or call him a fucking swing player. Kenyon Martin, once again, he's like an angry ass unk right now. Like, it's like they just told him the new fashion trend and his clothes are out of style. Like, he is tight.
Do you think he overstepped with the overachieving shit?
Fuck him, anybody that's got to say.
Saying 200 people better than you. And
they are, nigga.
So what's the difference?
But because it's
if
the question.
If y'all going at it, y'all going at it.
No, there ain't no going at it.
It is what it is. Pretty much a clash of 2 different ideologies between the players and even the NBA viewing audiences. The individual game versus winning championships, which would require players who have high impact on teams, whether that be scoring, playing defense. As long as there are W's in that column come May, April, June, shit, that's all that matters. So many of the NBA star players are in a very interesting position as the league is transitioning from the old CBA to the new, and this season we're seeing a lot of stars not necessarily have the trade value, even though they do have value to a team. And in this segment, we're going to hear from a few different players as they're starting to wake up to the fact that the new CBA has decreased a lot of players' values unless you're on a Luka, Jokic, or LeBron James kind of status. teams that either had signed guys under the old CBA like Anthony Davis, Ja Morant, Zach LaVine, LaMelo Ball, Sabonis out in Sacramento, the guys that make anywhere from 40 million to about 50 million to 60, like Karl Anthony Towns, to put them on the trade block nowadays, it's going to be very difficult to move them. And sometimes it might appear that they actually have no market, is that teams are either in the middle of rebuilding or they're already competitive and have too many players hitting their cap. It just makes things very difficult for teams where it's clearly obvious that they need to move into a new direction. And that's where we see the Charlotte Hornets kind of stuck this season. Same thing for the Memphis Grizzlies, the Sacramento Kings, and even to a degree, the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young. And in the midst of all that clusterfuck at the same time, there are guys that do have value, but they're struggling to gain it in the open market in free agency. Guys like Julius Randle, we've seen him take a pay cut. He's actually making less money than he made before. He's hovering around $30 million a year, which is less than Emmanuel Quickley. Same thing for Brandon Ingram out in Toronto. He had to take virtually the same salary he was making on his rookie scale max. Even Norman Powell got screwed over from performing well last season. Basically, he was an all-star on the Clippers, but because teams didn't really want to get caught up with having him in a long-term deal or just even a 3-year deal at $30 mil to $40 million a year, it just created this no man's land for him where he ended up in Miami for about $20 million a year. And speaking of Miami, even Jimmy Butler got caught up in this situation, but lucky for him, the Golden State Warriors are trying to maximize Stephen Curry's final years. So he was able to secure a $100 million deal, but he had to go through a back and forth with Pat Riley, which lucky for him, the only reason he got out of it is because of that player policy, that player rest policy in which the Heat got caught up in, and that really ended up tying the Heat's hands as they were in violation of just resting their stars for no reason. But a lot of these things are results from the previous era, the player movement era, where we see Kevin Durant sign a brand new contract in Brooklyn, then ask for a trade. Anthony Davis with the Pelicans just forcing a trade to LA out of nowhere, even though he was still under contract. And many others, James Harden with Philly and also with the Brooklyn Nets. So the NBA owners were put on notice with this player movement, and they slowly have crafted this new CBA in which guys can definitely have access to more money, but them hitting free agency and having owners on where they go, those options look a lot different today. Even the 65 game rule, which is a team rule that only gets voted by the owners, not the players union, is technically tied to their contracts, especially for the Supermax guys, because once you hit over that 65 game threshold, these guys can actually qualify for the all NBA teams and certain awards, which will trigger certain price points in their next contract re-ups. You could look no further than Tyrese Halliburton in 2024. The fact that he was willing to play injured and risk further damage possibly to his career in order to hit that 65 game threshold to qualify for that Supermax contract that he got. These billionaire owners did not get to their position by just playing nice. But first, let's take a listen to Brian Windhorst as he admits the truth of how these star players entering into this new CBA, there's going to be less of them that actually qualify for a Supermax.
By the way, I had an executive tell me the other day, with the new CBA, there's really only 10 max players in this league.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, there's certainly circumstantial max.
Right.
Like, no offense to Paul George in Philly. Right. I mean, I think that's kind of a circumstantial based on based on everything.
Now going back to the Tyrese Halliburton situation with him playing injured on his way to getting a Supermax, he had to risk himself because of that 65 game rule. So there's technically going to be less than 10 guys that are going to be eligible for that Supermax going forward. So this works to the owner's favor. And you could look at another situation more recently in Jalen Williams in OKC. He signed a Supermax rookie extension, but the fact that he started off this season and he's missed enough games now where he doesn't qualify to make an all-NBA team or even win certain awards. So OKC over the next 5 seasons will pay him $241 million instead of potentially paying him up to $289 million. And that does save them a significant amount of money because right now they have a pending $210 million luxury tax bill. So with the Oklahoma City Thunder in prime position to be a dynasty, We're going to see how these small market teams react with that type of luxury tax bill that's coming their way. It should come by no surprise, in the past few seasons, we have seen nowhere near any kind of dynasties being in the league, and it's not set up that way going forward. And Draymond Green right here gives great insight to this.
The Celtics, listen, this is all about the second apron. People said they didn't want super teams anymore. Well, here you have it. All these moves are being made to dodge that second apron. For those out there that don't know what the second apron is, in layman's term for you, it's a hard cap. It is a hard cap that no owner is dealing with because the penalties are crazy. You lose draft picks, you lose the mid-level exception, you lose roster spots, you lose the ability to get better and compete as a team.
You also lose draft picks 7 years out, depending how many years in a row you stay in that second apron, which is crazy.
And the amount of money that you lose is insanity. And so the Boston Celtics would have had a salary cap with luxury tax bill of $540 million. It is now at $280 because they got rid of those contracts. So for those that don't understand what the second apron is, as basic as I can put it for you, it is a hard cap. And when I said this before the deal was signed, that this is ridiculous and it's going to hurt players in the end. No one wanted to listen and everybody wanted to act like the PA was making a great deal.
Facts. CJ McCollum and Andre Iguodala, I don't know if they can't get the players to all be in one accord, but maybe this is possibly the best deal that they can strike under the conditions that they were in. And as of right now, it looks like this new current structure really benefits the high-ranking role players. Maybe the guys that are the third or fourth best player on the team, and their contract rates are going up season by season. But the guys that are in the Jimmy Butler slots, the Julius Randles, the Norman Powells, the Brandon Ingrams, they're getting fucked over. Even though they put up consistent scoring and solidify themselves in that co-star role. The co-stars in today's NBA, their contract price is going up and up and up. That's really what's under the biggest threat.
Made a shit deal, as the PA has done for years now, and every year the pot gets bigger and the business gets better and the players get screwed more. That's just how this business works then. And so, in saying that, back to the Boston Celtics, that's what all of these moves are about, people. That's why they got rid of Porzingis. That's why they got rid of Drew Holiday. That's why you're hearing so many people call on Jaylen Brown. You're hearing so many people call on Derek White. It's because they know they want to get away from that second apron tax.
And it also shows you that the league right now, the way it's structured, there's a very thin line from winning a championship to rebuilding. As Draymond Green stated here, the Boston Celtics is one prime example of that. And another one is the Dallas Mavericks coming off that NBA Finals appearance. All of a sudden, they're picking in next year's draft with the first overall pick. That's really not by accident. See, Mark Cuban, who he sold the team to, he understood that this was a major possibility because even he was ducking the fact that the Dallas Mavericks would owe Luka Doncic a brand new contract, $345 million for 5 years. That's almost $70 million a year. And even before that contract was about to come up, the Dallas Mavericks were already paying into the luxury tax. They were paying about $5 million, and that payment was about to balloon to about $100 million because remember, Kyrie Irving's contract was also up, and they had a few other players coming off the books that they would have to figure out. It sounds small, kind of figuring out what kind of role players you're going to get for a team like that, but you could look no further than the Phoenix Suns. Them even re-signing Grayson Allen when they had Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. They almost spent $75 million a year on just Grayson Allen when they gave him an extension. This is when you factor in the luxury tax that they were paying. So we're starting to see how the new CBA really strangleholds teams, even though they have owners who were once willing to spend money under the old rules.
And Jason Tatum being out, things are up in the air. You trade for Anthony Simons, I think, listen, they're the Boston Celtics. They got to be competitive, but at the end of the day, it's an expiring deal, cap situation, all of those things.
They can recalibrate, yeah.
And you got Jason Tatum hurt, right? So if I had to guess, Jaylen Brown, if he have any nicks and knacks this year, Probably won't be in the lineup because you're going to recalibrate. You're going to let your books settle. And then next year with Jason Tatum coming back, then you try to retool and start going for it again. And that's just how these things work. You'll see this all over the NBA for years to come because that's just the way this CBA works. And so you'll see this happen over and over again. That's my spiel. That's the second apron.
And again, we're seeing multiple bubbles this season that's coming out of this brand new CBA, which is Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, even LeBron James to a degree. I'm going to toss Trae Young name in there also. But even if these teams wanted to trade these players, there's barely any market for another team to absorb these contracts. It's kind of crazy, but it makes sense why the Minnesota Timberwolves were reluctant to give Julius Randle an extension for $40 million plus a year. Same thing for the Toronto Raptors or just any team when Brandon Ingram and Rich Paul were trying to get him somewhere. Even Pat Riley with Jimmy Butler. These guys are significant to their teams, but we're seeing a pushback because a lot of franchises don't want to get caught up with trying to get rid of a LaMelo Ball making $40 million a year plus. A Ja Morant, same thing. A Zach LaVine, Sabonis, even Zion Williamson. All these teams clearly understand that they have to go into a brand new direction, but it's hard to pivot because of those salaries. That's why I stated in this new NBA, you either got to be Luka, LeBron, Jokic, SGA, or you're basically better off being a Norman Powell versus being a Julius Randle or any kind of co-star. The only co-star that kind of lucked up was Paul George, and that was by accident. The 76ers were desperate. They lost James Harden. Daryl Morey scrambling to figure something out, and Paul George was sort of the bailout plan. So that's how he lucked up and got that kind of max deal in free agency. But ask yourself this, who was the last free agent other than Paul George in the last several years? I would say the last 4 to 5 seasons to just get a large deal off of free agency. These are very interesting times, but this is not a mistake. The owners set it up this way. They understood the outcomes. Again, these are billionaire owners with teams and just teams of lawyers who understand years of contract language and just creating a whole ecosystem around that language. And this is how we see the new CBA playing out. The guys who really make the franchises worth a lot of money, the guys at the very tippy top, they're set up to get paid, even making $100 million by the end of this deal. And this is where we're going to hear from Andre Iguodala and Kyrie Irving as they spoke on the importance of some of the top players to the evaluations of these franchises. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
You only get blamed for something that someone doesn't like, but you never get credit for, we have the highest minimum wage in the world, right? Yeah. We have the highest middle class in the world. Like, what's our middle class now? Like the average salary is like 14 million. That's the middle class. A low is what, 900,000? I mean, you make $1 million as minimum wage in the league, and then on the high end, they just signed for 70 and then a year. Book just signed,
breaking records.
And so when you those type of things, and we're not looking credit for it, we're just trying to make sure it's like, okay, first of all, how do we help grow the business? So they don't understand, like, there's certain sacrifices being made all the way around. Like, Bron, Steph, those guys, like you guys, like you actually, I don't know if I can say this as a quote unquote union guy, because I'm the executive director of the NBPA. But I read a lot of different articles, and there was one article that could argue you got 8 guys that push the needle for all NBA fans to follow and watch all their own individual teams, other players.
Stat.
It's crazy.
It's a crazy stat.
One could argue, I'm not arguing this, but one could argue
Let me argue with him.
A Bron or Steph is worth $350 million a year.
Yes.
I'm not arguing that.
No. That's why I said, let me argue it. You're not saying it, but I am, because based off of, there isn't a quantifiable number for cultural impact.
Correct.
And
it's in the bees.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If we're talking value there, that's what we're driving as an engine, right? And sometimes as a passenger, we play our role very well as NBA players to participate in what's asked of us. but also the piqued interest from the room shakers that are around our business is pretty interesting, because you realize that not only are a lot of people fans of us as players, but they want to get to know us as people. They want to know what's going on in those thoughts of yours. What makes you great on the court, and how does your brain process decision making? You know, you've had how many classic album years where you could look at that year and be like, yo, I could pretty much argue I was a top 15, top 20 player in the league.
Sure.
If you have a certain amount of those and you've pushed the needle for the business to grow, your jersey sales are up there, you're not necessarily getting followers on social media, but your engagement with your community is people are showing up to games to specifically see you.
Yeah.
There is no, I'm trying to cheer for you on the team, or so there's a balance of what is individual raise of that impact score, and then what is the team raise, franchise raise, which also includes that player and other executive leadership, which helps local community outreach, you know, international, global community outreach, where it is a broader scale and there are leaders within that room where they are responsible for pushing that needle too. The franchise hires great people, financial, institutional guys, and, you know, girls. And then us on the pro side of the players, we're now gearing up for a new generation where their business interests are also tied into their talent. They want to be rewarded for the value.
Yes.
Now, with this new CBA, the NBA owners found a way to separate the guys at the very tippy top from even the co-stars. There's a major gap from players even cashing in from that value. Luka, Jokic, SGA, these guys are going to be making 70 all the way up into $100 million a year come 2028, 2029. But the co-stars, the guys that are the top 15 to 20 to 30 players in the league, for them to cash in on that value, they're not seeing a market. And that's really one of the major issues. We're seeing the same set of guys that were able to cash in under the old rules, like Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Zach LaVine, Ja Morant. And now under the current landscape, we could see the interest from other teams when it hits that these guys will potentially hit the open market. It's almost non-existent. Even the Chicago Bulls most recently have stated that they will give up none of their young core for Anthony Davis. That right there is a big fucking difference in the way that co-stars are being assessed.
When I leave the house, I was born in Australia. My family comes from the Bronx. My family comes from North Dakota, South Dakota. I have family in, you know, Seattle, Washington. I have family in Florida. I represent this broader community that watches the NBA.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, we can't see it all the time, but I know we feel it, and you're behind the scenes doing your thing, and I've seen it as well.
And now things like this are so noticeable that even former players are starting to say something about it. Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins dropped major gems on how this second apron is impacting the league. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Players have been chirping about the second apron, and it seems like if you guys are not a huge fan of this particular part of the new CBA. Miles Turner said it's either you're getting max big-ass contracts or you're getting minimum.
Like
Lance
they
Jr.,
said was going to happen.
Everybody but the stars are getting kind of fucked. Norman Powell, I feel like if the apron wasn't there, I would have gotten an extension instead of being traded here. Tyus Jones said there was just less money when it was time for him to sign his contract.
Tyus Jones need to stop worrying about that.
Can y'all explain what the second apron rule is and why it affects?
It doesn't allow you the flexibility. If you're in that apron multiple times, the level of the tax penalty is exponential. It can affect your draft picks. It's all of these things. So it is basically essentially a hard cap. And what I'm saying is when you start hearing players talk like this at the beginnings of a new CBA deal, you know what's going to happen at the end of that CBA deal. You know what's going to happen. Owners eventually would love to get it to NFL. Everybody else wants baseball. We want it the same. We've always fought to allow for an open market, because why is it that a player should be capped? In any other market in the world, yes, there's a competitive space, but if an owner's willing to pay for someone, if I work for Google, they can pay me as much as I want, whatever my market value is. If I work for Apple, they can pay me whatever my market value is, whatever they believe that they can pay me. In basketball and certain sports, they cap it. That's what this is. So right now, we're in a position where it's like when you start to hear multiple players say this, and it's just the beginning of this CBA, that means when we get to the end of it, there's most likely going to be something that has happened in the 90s and the 2000s. There's most likely going to be, there's going to be something that happened. Shout out the WNBA. They know what we're talking about. There's going to be something that happened. People have said this was a bad deal for the players since the onset. They have been screaming that. Sadly, the people that were saying it was bad was after they agreed to it.
And one of the reasons why it seems like there was two different camps within the players union is because it's hard for the reps to get everyone to come together. You could just look at the player union reps per team. It's usually a guy that's on the fringe of just being in the G League and being in the NBA. That's how nonchalant the players really are when it comes to that. And the turnover rate in the NBA outside of the stars is so high that they can't even keep certain guys' interest long enough because, again, it's just a rotational door of players. The owners know this. They use this to their advantage when they're drawing up these deals.
How did we get here?
They signed a deal.
No, it was before the fucking deal.
Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it.
He was gonna say players were holding out and moving and
don't do it.
Yep, Kendrick is right about that. The Anthony Davis leaving New Orleans, Kevin Durant leaving Brooklyn right after you signed the extension. Like, it's too many guys moving left and right. And make no mistake about it, the owners were definitely peeping this. They were losing a lot of money. How many jerseys were on sale after guys were just kind of traded away because they forced their way out? A lot of money was lost. Owners couldn't really project the future of their business because they were not guaranteed to have their stars long term. And they've adjusted.
You know, guys teaming up, jumping fence, going this, and it started.
I just said that.
That's not why.
Why is it, Richard?
That's not
why.
Why? The teams did not say to come together, we got to stop this. That's not what the teams came together. The teams came together so that they could maximize the cap, so teams weren't overspending. They did not do it to prevent the players from doing something. It's about money. The owners don't care about it from that level. They care about the dollar, period.
Facts. And that part right there is not discussed enough when it comes to Luka being traded to the Lakers. Again, Patrick Dumont and the Adelson family had a pending luxury tax bill of over $100 million for the next, 5-10 years. As long as they kept Luka, they were guaranteed to at least be paying at minimum $100 million in luxury tax. Mark Cuban already knew this. That's why him selling the team was almost perfect timing. He sold it right before he got into extension talks with Luka. Kyrie was also pending on a brand new extension. They had a couple role players coming off the books. And for Luka to hit their cap sheet for $70 million a year, that was going to put them into the luxury tax, whether this team was going to be competing for a championship or not.
Any excuse that they say woven in there, the owners are billionaires, multi-billionaires. Do you think they care about fairness?
Hey, RJ's right. They do not care about fairness. And going back to Patrick Dumont, just because he spent $3.5 billion on the Mavericks doesn't mean he's necessarily there for the Mavericks. His family's very politically connected and they're there for the casino. The same way Steve Ballmer, he's not necessarily in LA for the Clippers. He was there for the Intuit Dome and most importantly to secure the land ownership in downtown LA by USC. The Clippers was only a vessel to it. The same way the Dallas Mavericks are the vessel for the Adelson family to use their political connections to open up gambling in Texas.
Yeah.
What billionaire has ever cared about fairness?
Can I say this?
We have a Ballmer.
The same motherfucking billionaire that got mad at Braun and wrote a fucking letter about it.
Yes,
right? Like, that's
and begged them to come back.
So
Thank you, Jesus. We made billions when he came back.
He was gonna make. He made billions. Period.
I understand
All
that.
I'm saying is, you said what billionaire care about fairness?
That wasn't fair.
Obviously, he got.
That wasn't fairness. That wasn't.
He got in this feeling.
But he was complaining. He was complaining about a lack of fairness. That's what they say because they did it within the cap rules.
These owners, when it comes to business, there is no emotion. And the slickest card in the playbook has always been that 65 game rule. I love the way Adam Silver kind of introduced it. He tried to soften it up by saying the owners were in a meeting about it and they involved the players union. When in reality, that 65 game rule, because it was a team rule, only the owners could vote on it. And that was not only the guarantee that stars would play in some of these nationally televised games, but also that owners could have an out when it comes to their Supermax contracts. But we'll see. In due time, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be stuck in limbo because they can't get rid of certain stars that they paid. aka the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine in Sacramento, and even to a degree, Anthony Davis with the Dallas Mavericks. It's going to be hard to get rid of AD because he signed that Supermax deal under the old CBA. And when you look at guys who had the same circumstance around those times that got that convenient max, Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota, those days are over. So whoever is left remaining under those same contracts, they're basically untradeable nowadays. But we'll see how it plays out. You guys definitely hit up the link in the description below. Check out my NBA True Story playlist. Also the NBA Hardwood Nuances. Got a lot of game film in there mixed in with the storytelling. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.